Tucked inside the lush, sprawling green of Mexico City's Chapultepec Park sits an imposing, modernist stone facade. For centuries following the Spanish conquest, Mexico's profound indigenous history was largely sidelined. The civilizations that built massive cities and mapped the stars were treated as fractured relics, viewed almost entirely through a colonial lens. By the 1960s, a fierce intellectual movement began to reject that erasure. Mexican scholars and thinkers demanded a dedicated space to resurrect and honor their pre-Hispanic heritage on its own terms. The state listened. Under the direction of President Adolfo López Mateos, the government embraced this movement, physically elevating ancient artifacts from the soil into the status of national treasures. The building functioned as a high-stakes national project, a tool for the state to synthesize a unified, modern Mexican identity out of its ancient roots. To execute this vision, the government tapped architect Pedro Ramirez Vázquez. He understood that the building's physical layout itself had to tell this cultural story. The moment you step past the entrance, you are pulled into a vast central patio, dominated by a structure known as el Paraguas, or the umbrella. This concrete canopy spans nearly 50,000 square feet and is supported by a single bronze-clad column. It acts as an engineering marvel, capturing rainwater and channeling it into a continuous cascade using nothing but gravity. That reliance on gravity over mechanical pumps is completely intentional. It directly echoes the sophisticated hydraulic engineering mastered by ancient civilizations like Teotihuacan and the Maya. By placing this hydraulic logic at the threshold, the museum forces the visitor to encounter indigenous science as the primary entry point to the entire collection. Walking the ground floor, you'll find the archaeology galleries organized strictly by geography and time. No single culture is placed on a higher pedestal than the rest. When you reach the Gulf Coast galleries, you encounter stones that weigh up to 20 tons. To get them here, the Olmec people hauled quarried basalt across rivers and dense swamps, entirely without wheeled vehicles or metal tools. These colossal heads are highly individualized portraits, capturing the specific, imposing features of powerful Olmec rulers who commanded incredible human labor. This is the Aztec sunstone. Often mislabeled as a calendar, it's a complex cosmological map. At the center sits Tonatiuh, the sun deity. His tongue forms a sacrificial blade, and his clawed hands grip human hearts, demanding sacrifices to keep the universe balanced. Mexica and Olmec rulers utilized these stones as heavy-duty instruments of state propaganda and essential anchors for the collective survival of their empires. That connection to the natural world spills out of the galleries and into lush, outdoor courtyards. Massive stone altars and full-scale reproductions of Mayan temples sit beneath the trees, bathed in natural light and accessible from the archaeology halls. This setup provides a sense of environmental immersion, moving away from the clinical, glass case environments common in artifact preservation. By exposing these sacred objects to the wind, sun, and rain, the museum physically reconnects them to the vast natural cosmos they were originally built to navigate. From the ancient ruins of the ground floor, the building guides you upwards into the ethnography halls on the second level. This spatial ascent makes the museum's core thesis clear. Mexico's indigenous cultures evolved and adapted, and they continue to thrive today. That continuity is felt most heavily when you leave the upper floors and descend into the basement of the Maya galleries, stepping into the subterranean replica of Pakal the Great's tomb. In the Mesoamerican worldview, death was understood as a necessary transition into the underworld, a journey required to sustain the ongoing cycle of life. You can feel that cycle working when you leave the quiet isolation of the tomb and return to the vibrant courtyard above, where students and families gather to sketch and observe. The presence of sketching students and families amidst these ancient icons confirms that Mexico's indigenous foundations remain an active driver of the nation's modern spirit.